going on, everyone? Designedcoma here. Welcome back. And what's up for today's video? Well, I've decided to do something a little bit more personal to close out the Christmas specials that I've been doing over the week. And as I mentioned in my other videos, I've been watching this program on History Channel called Christmas through the Decades. Now, to be honest with you, it's been great. It's been really cool to see a lot of the things that I really recognize and remember and recall. I mean, it's been fun. It's been a lot of fun. If you guys haven't seen them yet, you know, check it out on demand. However you can check it out, but it's pretty interesting. It's really a lot of good fun. So here we are. We're into the 90s. It's the final decade, and let's get into it. So one of the greatest shows, or one of the television shows that were on in the 90s, is Seinfeld. Now, Seinfeld aired this Christmas special. It wasn't even really a Christmas special. It was called the Festivus episode. At least that's what we call it, the Festivus episode. And this is where George's dad creates his own holiday, and it basically takes a bunch of traditions from your usual holidays and changes things up a little bit. Like, instead of a tree, there's the Festivus pole. Alright, and there's also the Feats of Strength. And the Feats of Strength is where you had to hold on to the Festivus pole, and you basically get to let loose. You get things off your chest, any gripes you might have had during that year, any opinions you may have had with people but were afraid to say it. And the Festivus pole gave you the opportunity to do this and leave everything in that year and not carry it over into the new year. Some interesting things about the Festivus episode is that people do actually celebrate this. And in 2013, Florida recognized it as an actual holiday. So every year now, down in Florida, they celebrate Festivus. So if you're interested in celebrating Festivus, you can go down there and have a good time with Festivus. Some great movies that came out in the 90s was Home Alone. You know, Home Alone, I'm sure a lot of people know what Home Alone is. It's where a kid gets left home alone by his parents and the rest of his family as they travel down to, I believe it's Florida, for the Christmas for the Christmas season that year, to spend it with family down there. But they leave him home alone by mistake. The power goes out, everybody's freaking out, and they just, for whatever reason, forgot about him because he's the I guess troublemaker, I suppose. Some of my favorite scenes is when one of the robbers gets shot in the jewels with a BB gun. I mean, just blasted right in the jewels with a BB gun. And another great scene is when the other one is down in the basement. Okay, he's down in the basement like I'm down in the basement. You know, I'm down in my basement, and he pulls on one of the cords to to turn on the light, and he actually ends up pulling down an iron. And as he looks up, it comes down and slams him right in his forehead. I mean, it's a great movie. If you haven't ever seen it, definitely see it. You know, try and see it. If you don't, you know, do it this year, plan on it next year, and you can watch it really any time. I mean, it's really that funny of a movie. Another great movie was Santa Claus. Okay, this stars Tim Allen, and I still watch this one to this day too. It's another one of those Christmas movies that has kind of become a tradition for us to help ring in the new year. You know, it really puts together a Christmas spirit and some comedy together, and it's just great. It's good fun, and I really enjoy watching it. The interesting fact about Tim Allen is that he turned down $50 million to do a 9th season of Home Improvement, which was the TV series that pretty much launched his career. It really launched it. Some other great movies that came to us is A Nightmare Before Christmas. Now, this is a movie that was directed and created by Tim Burton. You know, and Tim Burton has done some other movies like Beetlejuice as well. But this one here is a movie about a character whose name is Jack. And he's really all about Halloween. You know, that's his holiday. It's his duty. His job is Halloween, and he decides, you know what? I'm really kind of feeling like I need something new. So he hijacks Christmas by kidnapping Santa, and he goes out and he delivers toys. And the thing is the toys are more, they're not necessarily toys, they're really scary items from Halloween. So one of my favorite scenes is when some kids were asked by their parents, you know, what did you get from Santa? And they turn around and they got these shrunken heads. They're just holding shrunken heads. But yeah, it was a great movie. Just the creativity alone is worth watching it, you know. If you don't quite get it or anything, you know, but the thing is that the creativity that Tim Burton had in that movie was just amazing. Some other cool things, let's skip ahead to 95. Okay, in 1995, you know, personal computers have become pretty popular, so there is like one in every 3 homes. Alright, and in 95, the PC computer was at the top of pretty much everyone's list. And something about computers back then is, you know, obviously they're not like they are today, but back then, it literally took you hours to set up your computer. Not like it does today, where it's simply just plug everything in and turn it all on and everything works. I mean, back then, it took hours, you know. The monitor alone was just giant. You had to, like, practically have an entire room set aside just for a computer from back then. But Gateway was pretty popular back then, and the reason they were pretty popular is because their computers were specifically designed for the home user. So everybody wanted the Gateway. Plus, it came in this really cool cow imprinted box. You know, honestly, I think people just like the box more than anything. My computer right now is a Gateway, and no, it didn't come in a cow printed box. It just came in a regular brown box. Well, maybe it was a brown box that was imprinted like a cow, but not like the box it was back then. Let's see, what else did we have in 95? The PlayStation. Sony PlayStation came out in 95. You know, the way Sony came out with their PlayStation has a history on its own, so we're not going to get into that, but my sister got me my first PS1. Well, I make it sound like I had multiple PS1s, but I only had one. But I had my PS1 for the longest time, and I still had it for a long time after I sat out all night long at Best Buy waiting for my PlayStation 2.
Merry Christmas!
But Sony was going up against Nintendo at the time, and Nintendo launched the 64. The Nintendo 64 came out as well. So they were kind of going at it. You know, this is like the start of console wars. Eventually, Sony did end up winning that war, but, you know, I had a Nintendo 64 too, because, you know, you had to have Mario, right? You gotta have Mario. So, you know, eventually, like I said, Sony ended up winning that war, and some really interesting fact, or a really cool thing about PlayStation is in 2010, the Air Force Research Lab built a supercomputer with over 1,700 PS3s, all put together, you know, slaved together into this one giant, massive supercomputer. Now, I don't know if they still have it today, or if they still use it today for anything, because obviously it's the government, and it's not like I can call up the Air Force and just say, hey, you guys still using that supercomputer built out of PlayStation 3s? So yeah, that's pretty cool. Something else, in 92, this is when compact disc came out, you know, to replace cassette players. Now, everybody had to have one of these. Even I had to have one, and I was only in my teens. I think I was, yeah, no, I wasn't in my teens. I was, I want to say I was probably about 20 or so. I don't know. Anyway, my parents got me my first compact disc player, and this thing ran $600, and it was huge too. It was giant. It wasn't anything small. Think of it, it's about the size of an Xbox One, only a little bit bigger. But it's basically the same shape, and that thing was just giant. 600 bucks that cost. Something really cool happened in '91, and maybe a lot of people don't know this. I don't even know if it's taught in history books, to be honest with you, because I don't hear my kids talk about it, or maybe they just didn't find it interesting enough. But in 1991, the Soviet Union was disbanded. This is when Gorbachev went on the air. I want to say it was either Christmas Eve or Christmas Day. He went on television and said he was stepping down as president of the Soviet Union, and the Soviet Union is now no more. so you know, it was kind of a shock to everybody that year. I don't honestly remember watching it, but I do remember watching it on the news, you know, like it was on the news and they were reporting it and things like that. That's what I recall. I don't remember actually turning the television on and going, wait a minute, you know, why is Gorbachev on my TV? Let's see, 99. Something really interesting in 1999. Rockefeller Center, who's famous for their Christmas trees, gets their tallest one in history, standing in at 100 feet tall. It's a 100-foot tall tree, bigger than the Griswold's tree, and definitely wider, and definitely more sap. But this thing also took 5 miles of Christmas lights to light this thing up. Now, it kind of makes me think, do they save the lights when they take the trees down? Do they like roll them back up and reuse them the following year? It kind of makes me wonder, do they have a team of people standing by just in case there's a bunch of lights that have knots in them? Because I don't care if you roll them up, it's almost inevitable they will get tangled up. We also had the gift card. Now, gift cards, I love gift cards. Some people do not like to give gift cards at all because it doesn't have that personal touch to it. But a gift card is basically a gift that you give somebody who it's I don't know you well enough to get you something, but I'm going to give you this gift card so you can get something you want. Now, for me, I love that idea, because if you don't know what to get me, because you don't know me well enough, but you don't know what to get me, or even if you know me well enough, but you still don't know what to get me, I'd prefer a gift card. Because I don't want you to get me something that I'm just going to open up and go, give you that fake excitement. Oh, wow, this is great. I love it. You know, and look for the gift receipt that may or may not be in the box, right? Some other interesting things. Toys. Okay, we're getting into the toys. We're going to close this out with toys. In '96, it was Tickle Me Elmo. Now, my son had one. He called it Melmo. But by the time he got one, it wasn't really all that popular. Because he was born in '99, so it was already 3 years old. But, you know, he was still around. But for whatever reason, he called it Melmo. Maybe it's because he didn't really like him all that much. I don't know, but he really didn't play with Tickle Me Elmo at all. For a little bit he did, but not very often. Now, people got in fights over these things. I mean, if you were standing in line, they were so desired and popular. I mean, you could literally have somebody come up to you standing in line and get in a fight with you and practically steal yours or steal it. That's how popular they were. There were scalpers apparently selling these things for $1,500 if they had them, and if they were even real. There was also one that was sold for $1 million. $1 million. But this was with this was in coordination with a jewelry company. I believe it was Cartier. But I probably even got the company wrong. But anyway, they sold the Tickle Me Elmo for $1 million, but it had a rather large diamond necklace on it. So, you know, we were really paying more for the necklace probably than the doll. Beanie Babies took the world by storm. I mean, these things were like limited edition, made in limited quantities type little animals filled with beans, and they were so popular. People were buying these things up like crazy, and you had to have them because they were limited edition. They were always limited edition. Whichever one came out, there was only so many made, and you had to have them. People, the collectors were buying them like crazy. But the problem is in '99, eventually the baby bubble burst, and people who invested heavily in those little beanies kind of lost out on a lot of money because they were pretty much worthless. They weren't really worth much. I think there's still some out there that are worth quite a bit of money, but not like they were when they were in high demand. Some other popular toys were Mutant Ninja Turtles. Those sold like 500,000 during the year they came out in 1990. Tamagotchis, oh my gosh, they were still around when my daughter was born, and when she was old enough, she had to have one. She had to have one. She still has it to this day. She still has the Tamagotchi. Some other popular toys were Teletubbies. Now, Teletubbies had that one Teletubby who, I think it was Tinky Winky, I don't know, but it had a controversial phrase, apparently, that it said, and we happen to have that one. And I'm not going to tell you what the phrase was. If you want to know, you can Google it and find out for yourself, but I don't really necessarily want to put it on my channel because it's really not something that should be repeated on, at least for me, on my channel. I'm not going to repeat it on my channel. So if you're interested to know what it is, you can go Google it and you'll find it. Trust me, you will find it. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a like, favorite, and subscribe. And I hope you guys have a Merry Christmas, Happy Holiday, and a Happy New Year. Be safe and all that good stuff. And I will be back in a few days. I'm taking a few days off, and I will catch you guys in the next one.